Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast. I am your host, Mual. AJ's on the way. Dre's in the building, the virtual building. On the show today, we have it's a slight show, bro. Sheena Quick covers the Carolina Panthers. And Sheena is going to come through and chop it up with us about a couple of players, obviously from the former Carolina guys, Jeremy Chinn and Frankie Luvu. As we kind of get things situated on our side, let's get the administrative items out of the way. If you are new to the Trap or Die podcast, man, YouTube side, obviously hit that like button, hit that subscribe button first and foremost. That's the most important thing. Audio side, man, if you are new and you like the show, or if you just want to show your support and you haven't done so yet because it's free to do so, hit us with a rating and review, man. We definitely appreciate that. Shout out to Sports Pops. 5 stars, man. Try it for real football fans. This show is for real football fans. No kidding. Listen, subscribe, enjoy. It's for Washington football fans and real football fans. They talk about other teams too. Yes, sir, we do. And we're gonna talk a little quarterback situation in Carolina too with Sheena. I want to know what's going on with that man over there, Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying? In year 2, that's an interesting situation. But another thing, let me get AJ in here. Another thing too, this is probably for the Commander side. This is going to be, we got 2 more shows before we take a break from the live streaming. We'll still have some recorded episodes coming out, but we're going to take a break from the live streams for a couple weeks. So we got this stream, and then we got all 32 on Thursday, and then we'll be taking a break from live streams, but we'll have a couple episodes here and there as we get ready for training camp. And there we go, fellas. After 5 minutes of talking, how the hell are y'all doing, bro?
Well, first off, for everyone that's watching right now, we didn't coordinate this. We are all actually wearing team gear for the first time ever, I think, on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Y'all should let me know that y'all was going to be wearing Radiant gear because I'm wearing Randall gear. It's all good. AJ winning the team shit threw me off. But nah, man, I'm feeling a little bitter because this is the last podcast until training camp. However, we all do need the break. And then when we come back, man, we going full at it. So it's going to be all good.
What's going on with you, AJ?
Cooling, man. Just cooling.
Hey, so before Sheena comes through, there was I don't know how much time we're gonna have to talk about this. We're gonna try and get this out the way. See how much time we do have. There was an update on, and this is thankfully this is a break coming up because now we can put this Brandon Aiyuk thing to rest. But Adam Schefter and Ryan Clark, they had a segment on, I think, NFL Today Show or NFL Live or something like that on ESPN. And they both had comments on an update related to Aiyuk's situation with the Niners. First and foremost, he is trying to schedule a meeting. This was at the time in which he reported. I think the meeting happened today. But I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago where Ryan reported that they were scheduling a meeting. Aiyuk was with the Niners front office, and Adam Schefter also added some insight into the situation after it was revealed that from Ryan Clark that Aiyuk came in to do his interview with Pivot alongside, tagging along was Jaden Daniels, obviously the Commanders quarterback. So I think Adam Schefter prompted him to mention that Washington did inquire with San Fran about a trade, and for whichever reason, nothing came out of it. Washington decided not to do it, or to step back from the trade situation. And he also added that the Niners weren't interested in trading Aiyuk anyway. So just some form of conversation happened between the Commanders and the Niners. So that is the latest update on the Aiyuk situation. Oh wait, one more thing. Aiyuk, he tweeted or put it on Instagram too after it was reported about the conversation between Washington and San Francisco. He made a comment saying that he said, "I thought I wasn't up for trade" or something like that. I don't have the comment in front of me, so I'm going off all memory.
Yeah, no, he said, I thought the 49ers were never trying to trade me, which kind of leads me to believe that meeting must not have went so well the other day.
So y'all got the floor. What to make of this new information that we did receive from all of these parties?
I mean, I think it's interesting from my standpoint because it shows that there was some level of interest. And I kind of questioned last week what Adam Peters may have felt about Aiyuk, because it's one thing, when you're doing some of these trades, and sometimes one team can get the better deal at a trade, obviously, if they know something that the other team doesn't know. But this is a unique situation between the 49ers and Washington, because 49ers can't get one over on Washington in this situation because Peters knows them. He knows the 49ers. He just came from over there. He knows Brandon Aiyuk. He's there when he was drafted. He was probably part of the process of one of the guys that loved them in the draft. So this is a opportunity where he knows the guy. He knows that there's nothing wrong with him. And that's what I was kind of trying to wonder last week. Was it something else other than money? I was like, maybe there's something else that we don't know about here. And I'm like, if we don't know about it, or if the 49ers are thinking of something outside of money, then Adam Peters would obviously have information about that as well. So this kind of makes me feel good in the sense that, it's nothing outside of money. Like, this is strictly a money thing. I mean, that's the confirmation that these talks between Adam Peters and the 49ers about confirms. It's like I said, it's not just, it's pretty much all about money. It's not about the skill. It's not about the player. It's not about anything off field. Just strictly money. Now, I don't know, how far along they got in those talks. If the 49ers, they wanted some kind of big compensation that Adam Peters didn't want to come off of. I mean, who knows? But the point is that there was communication. This also leads me to believe nothing happened with that. I don't even know when this communication happened. I'm probably assuming this must have happened somewhere around the draft, maybe pre-draft. Yeah, I mean, who knows when this happened? But I'm assuming this must have been going on for a while. But this also lets me know that this isn't dead. You know, I mean, I don't think this may not be the last you hear of it, because Aiyuk just kind of started ramping up more of the pressure on the 49ers with some of his antics. Obviously, you know, the FaceTime video he had with Jaden last week, even the pivot interview he's walking in with Jaden Daniels, and then obviously the comedy comes out today. I mean, like I said, this lets me know that the meeting didn't go so well with the 49ers to the point where they came to some kind of agreement, because Aiyuk is still going public with his disgruntledness about the whole situation. So this tells me that this isn't dead. I think what's going to happen is, I mean, this is probably going to drag out a little longer. But if Adam Peters is going to pounce on this move, or Washington is going to make this move, I think the 49ers asking price is going to have to come down. And if that's going to come down, it's going to have to do – Brandon Aiyuk is probably going to do more of what he's doing now. He's probably going to have to start acting out a little bit more, maybe even –
Oh, yeah, I said he's going to have to be on this AB wave, bro. Like, if he really want to make this shit, he's going to have to go full-blown AB, bro. Like, have some golf ball side bunions on your feet after the freezer joint. You know what I'm saying? You can't do nothing in training camp, bro. Your foot hurt, you're sore after workouts, bro. Like, anything that you can come up with to say, man, I can't play for y'all, bro. I'm sorry, I'm hurt. Can't do it. You got to do something,
Mual. I agree.
This ain't enough.
Because the 49ers right now still don't have any incentive to really get rid of him right now for anything. You know, so now the 49ers still have some leverage. You know, they still have leverage. They can still start high with, you know, with their asking price. But if Brandon Aiyuk starts, you know, doing a little bit more, maybe he starts holding out, like you said, maybe he starts coming up with little things, that asking price is going to drop a little bit more, because 49ers, especially in their position, a team that's contended to go to Super Bowls, they're playing in Super Bowls. They don't want anybody that's malcontent or discontent and messing up that locker room. So, I mean, not to say that Brandon Aiyuk is going to take it that far, but any little mess up or any little hiccup chemistry, the 49ers probably are going to come off that asking price a little bit. And a guy like Peters, I think he's savvy enough to know that. So, in my opinion, this isn't dead just because, you know, nothing's happened yet. I do think if anything happens, like I said, it's going to drag out a little bit longer. I think maybe something to come in the months. I mean, it's not to say that Washington will be the team that ends up acquiring him, so to speak. That it's not dead from any standpoint, whether it's Washington or any other team. I do think that this something is going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk next couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Brandon's situation is very fluid. I know we've had our own discussions on here. We've had the pleasure of having Adam Schefter on, asking him personally a couple weeks before the draft. He said he didn't hear of anything. Now he's kind of reporting a bit differently. When did that change? No clue exactly. As far as like hearing that Washington had interest or conversations, I think the main thing with even attempting to trade for Brandon Aiyuk is you have to know going into it, if you do acquire this player, that they're going to be signing an extension right then and there. It's hard to have those conversations until you get permission from said team to do so. So if any team is inquiring about Brandon, it would strictly be just on trade compensation. It wouldn't be in regards to contract extension information, because it's tampering if you do that. So I think that Washington is still in play. I think other teams are in play as well. I think this is all a part of Brandon's entire scheme to create hysteria, to be a distraction, be disgruntled. If you think about it, it's perfect timing. We're going into a dead period, hence why we're not even going to be doing a show until training camp. Like, pretty much all you're going to hear
show
from now on until live show. But all you're really going to hear is pretty much talk about Brandon Aiyuk if he keeps putting himself out there in a public stance. The episode from the Pivot hasn't even aired yet, which is coming Thursday or Friday. So at the end of the day, he's the main topic that's going to be talked about. And whatever dumb players out there end up getting themselves arrested and in trouble up until training camp. Everything has shown that he is disgruntled. He is not happy with the situation. The meeting took place yesterday. It obviously didn't go well, or he wouldn't be responding to some fake ass account on Instagram or Twitter saying I thought I wasn't in trade talks or something like that. If it was trending in the right direction, he would stay quiet because he knows that a big payday is on the brink of happening. So I just think overall, man, we'll see how it plays out. I think Washington is still in the mix. I don't doubt that Adam Peters definitely wants him. Whatever the trade compensation that San Fran is looking for is just not something that they could agree on at the time. But there's no way in hell that any team is going to give up a first-round pick and also a lofty contract at the same token for a set player. Like, you're not going to give up a first-round pick and pay this guy between 28 to 30 million all in the same period of time. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's a 50-50 chance of what happens for the Commanders and what happens for Aiyuk.
50-50 is bold, but I get where you're coming from. I think the point being there's a chance. I think what I'll end it on as we get ready to bring Sheena on is the fact that my biggest thing was, you're going to express interest, you're going to see what's out there. I think Washington would have been doing themselves a disservice, and I think for those who made the argument against not necessarily wanting to inquire about Brandon or being scared of compensation, I don't think Washington is scared of compensation. I think that they were putting their feelers out there, knowing that it may be too high right now, but that don't mean that it's over, and they can spin the block certainly within a few months, maybe even mid-season too. So I don't think it's over for Washington, but I think to Dre's point, who made a really good point, we're a Washington Commanders podcast, but there's other teams out there that are thinking the same thing that Washington fans are. They have a shot at Brandon Aiyuk if it makes sense for them financially and compensation-wise if they can trade for him. So, there'll be a sweepstakes. That's for sure. And I think Washington is definitely going to be one of the players. All right.
I actually don't think it will be a sweepstakes. Before we get into Sheena, it won't be, because this player also controls his destiny. Like, whatever team picks him up, as far as trade-wise, he has to be willing to sign the extension. So it's a layered thing there.
But I mean, it's going to be more than one, though, right?
I mean, let's say if it's between Pittsburgh and Washington, right? Like, the player still has to be in the fold with the front office as far as getting the extension done, because you want to be comfortable with the fact that this person is going to re-sign with you, and you don't put yourself in a situation where you got to use a franchise tag.
I mean, look, we'll see. I get you, though. That makes sense. And that also kind of eliminates a lot of teams. So it makes sense at the end of the day. All right. So, like I said, let's go ahead and bring on Sheena. Like I said, Sheena is a Panthers beat reporter, covers the Panthers for 1340 AM Fox Sports. Let's go ahead and bring her on right quick, and boom, there we go. First and foremost, nice to meet you, Sheena. I hope did we catch you right before the vacation that's coming up? I know everybody's taking these vacations. I'm talking.
Why she look like that?
I was about to say, I tweet something.
I don't know. I have no idea. I just know during this dead time before training camp, it's the vacation time for a lot of people.
Well, my boys run AAU track, so we have regionals coming up this weekend. After that, we'll have a little bit more time to go somewhere. So we'll get out of town. It's well deserved at this point.
Sounds good. Well, obviously with Washington, this is a situation where we got two former Panthers, like where Washington's fans, and also from a contract standpoint, there was a lot of conversation behind the idea of what Frankie Luvu could be here in Washington, but also the idea of what Jeremy Chinn can bring to the defense as well. You've been around the Panthers for some time, and what have been just generally, before we get into like who they are on the field, but like your interpretation of them from a character standpoint, and just like what you've come to know of Jeremy Chinn and what you've come to know of Frankie Luvu.
They're both two really, really high character guys. Always a pleasure to talk to in the locker room. They seem like really, really good teammates. You're probably going to be really hard pressed to find any of their former teammates that'll have anything negative to say about them. And they love the ball. I hate when coaches say that, when they say, oh, they're pros pro, but they're professional in every standpoint. And, they haven't necessarily had easy seasons here in Carolina. It's very easy to be, pessimistic, but just really high intensity guys that bring it on every single down that they're on the field.
Okay, now I know it's a little lag, so I'll pause for a second. But all right, so yeah, I think with both Frankie and Jeremy, another thing that stands out for us, or at least for me, I don't know how AJ and Dre feel. Frankie got the 3-year contract. Jeremy has a 1-year contract for Washington. Would you have an opinion as to why one got a 1-year deal versus the other who had a multi-year deal? Is there a reason why maybe Jeremy is the one who seemingly from a contractual standpoint has to prove himself and they're more invested into Frankie from a contractual standpoint?
Frankie Luvu is the dog. I mean, I don't even really know. There's no, fancy way of saying it. He is a dog, and he definitely earned every single year, every single dollar of that contract. Carolina actually offered him more, but he felt like he could be more productive in Dan Quinn's scheme, which is more of a hybrid 4-3 is what he's expected to run, more so than the 3-4 that Evero employed here last year. It'll give Frankie more opportunities to pass rush because, again, he's a dog. He's a ball hawk. He doesn't want to drop back in coverage. He wants to go after the quarterback. So he felt like Dan Quinn's scheme fit him a lot better. And so that's why he went with the lower money contractually to go with the Commanders. He saw himself fitting into that scheme better. But and like you said, Jeremy Chinn seems to be on a prove-it deal. He is on a prove-it deal. He went from playing about 90% of the snaps down to maybe 20 to 30% last year. He just didn't fit. And he's one of those players that can get lost in the shuffle when there's a lot of change in coaching staffs, because you got to remember he was recruited by Matt Rule, and then Matt Rule got fired. Steve Wilkes was the interim. Then you bring in Frank Wright. He gets fired, So it was a lot of moving and shaking when it comes to that. And he's on a 1-year deal. He does have to prove it. They need to figure out where he's going to play on the field and where he's going to be more productive also. He just did not seem to fit with what this coaching staff wanted to do last year. Evero, like I said before, he has a 3-4 base, and Jeremy Chinn has never been really strong in coverage. I've always banged the table for him to put some weight on and play closer to the line of scrimmage, because that's where he is effective. If you're asking him to be, a part of the secondary that can cover, tight ends and things like, he's not giving you that. He can't cover large areas of the field. At least that has not been his strong suit in Carolina. And I expect Dan Quinn to kind of use him, or hope to get the production out of him, as I would liken it to like a Cam Chancellor. Cam was better in coverage than Chinn is, but that's why that deal is 1 year, because like you said, he does have to prove it. He doesn't have a lot of film from last year. He had a phenomenal rookie season, and it just kind of fizzled out after that. And maybe not necessarily due to him. He played under 3 different defensive coordinators in that same amount of time. So he's one of those people that has just been collateral damage of the Panthers not being able to get it together when it comes to their coaching staff.
Well, Sheena, real quick, I wanted to kind of ask you that, because I was wondering, was there an injury for Jeremy Chinn in that point in time? Because I do know after the really great rookie year that he had, there was that fall off, and I'm glad you kind of provided some insight into the fit in the defense and all. But was there an injury somewhere in Jeremy Chinn that kind of affected his performance the last couple of years?
He's had a couple of dings and things like that, but I don't think that that's ultimately what cost him, playing time. And I like to have I wouldn't say a personal relationship with the guys, but a more relatable relationship with the guys. Like, I just talked to him straight up, like, man, did you think that you were going to play more? I had to ask him that. And when I asked him that at the end of the season, he had tears in his eyes. He was like, that he was very shocked. He thought that coming in, he was told that this was the role he was going to play. This is what he was going to do. And it just wasn't happening. I think that they were going to try to trade him at the deadline, and would have traded him at the deadline if he hadn't been injured. He got hurt right before the trade deadline. But had he not, I think that he would have gotten traded. I mean, but and that's not because of lack of ability, so to speak, or things like that. It's just that he did. Sometimes that coaching staff comes in and you just don't fit what they want to do, and it just is what it is. So and just to answer your question, yeah, it was an injury, but I think that injury kept him in Carolina longer than it would have last year.
Got you.
Do you think that Chinn's versatility became a negative within Carolina? Because it seems
I
like they moved him to
do. I think
nickelback last season, tried him out over there as well.
they didn't know what they wanted to do. And that's why I said that's why he's one of those players that just kind of got caught in the shuffle of these different coaching staff, because this coaching staff wants you to play closer to the ball, but then he gets fired in the middle of the season. Somebody else takes over the defensive play calling, and now they want you dropping back in cover. So he never really was able to solidify what he was, whether he was more so of a linebacker or a safety. And I asked Thomas Davis a couple years ago who on the roster reminded him most of himself. He said Shaq Thompson, but I felt like it was Jeremy Chinn. If you remember, Thomas Davis used to play safety. He put on some weight and moved to linebacker, and then, the rest is history. And that's what I think. I think Dan Quinn will be able, because he does that, have that hybrid scheme. I do think that there is an opportunity for Jeremy Chinn to flourish in that scheme.
There's one more thing that I thought about with Luvu. Obviously, like the comparing the two with Chinn and Luvu, like obviously there's some question marks there with Chinn, but a ton of praise for Luvu. What do you see like the ceiling in a player like Frankie? What's the ceiling in your opinion? Even if you want to do like a player comp or just something to you where you think that he can be like a Pro Bowler or All Pro, like what's your ceiling for him?
I think the only thing that kept him off of Pro Bowl teams is the team's record. Honestly, is Carolina's record. Because other than that, the productivity is there, the production is there. When you watch film, he's all over the field, and I don't think you can give a player like that a ceiling because he is still pretty young. The best is yet to come, and again, you don't know what he's going to be able to do within a stable scheme with a stable DC, because there's just been a lot of moving and shaking, and he met each and every one of those tasks to hand. He was able to, I wouldn't say adapt. He was able to maintain his tenacity and his production regardless of who was calling the defense and regardless of what scheme they were in, from 3-4, 4-3, whatever. He was able to adapt, and that's why you've seen Luvu be so consistent. That's one of his strong suits. He's consistent. He's going to go out there. You know what you're getting with Frankie Luvu. So it's hard to put a ceiling on a guy like that. It just has, you guys know, it just depends on the environment and, the other defensive players around him as far as what his ceiling is. But I would say a high ceiling. I can't give you like an exact.
Yeah.
So, Sheena,
the other part about
Chinn,
I'm sorry. There was one more thing about Chinn when you were talking about his usage here. And y'all know me, I'm going to ask the question. So I was like, look, why is Jeremy Chinn playing? And they said that basically teams were converting on first and second down. So they weren't putting teams in a lot of third and long situations, which is when they would have had him on the field. I thought that was an excuse, but that was one of the excuses that was given.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. I think what I wanted to ask you in regards to Luvu, do you feel like he's a better pass rusher or better pure linebacker, like playing middle linebacker? Like, what do you feel like in the years that you've covered the team and you've been able to see him up close emerge from this, late round drafted player to where he is now and getting this new contract with Washington? Like, what do you think he brings best to the table, and what are some of his flaws in his game?
I think he's best as a pure linebacker, but you need to know where he is on the field. Outside of Derek Brown, I would say out of that Carolina defense, you needed to know where Frankie Luvu was, because he's a run stuffer. He can drop back in coverage if he needs to. You don't want him to have to drop into deep coverage. But as far as his weaknesses, I mean, he's 100. He's 100 miles an hour. Like, for real, seriously though, he's going 100 miles an hour. And sometimes that can be sometimes with those 100 miles an hour guys, that can be, if they whiff, they're gonna whiff badly. But I would say that he has minimal whiffs, so to speak. I can't give you a lot of negatives of Frankie Luvu because he's been one of the bright spots in that defense, regardless of what the Panthers' record has been.
Now, Sheena,
so y'all got a dog. Y'all got a dog. I'm jealous a little bit. y'all got a dog.
I'm happy. No, but Sheena, you all actually owed us because Ron Rivera came over here and got the worst of the Panthers. He brought the worst of the Panthers over to DC. So I think we're getting the better of the Panthers now that we got rid of Ron Rivera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then we got then we got your interior linemen. Who them guys? Norwell and Norwell and who the other dude?
God, Trey Turner. Yeah,
they was 3 years
But
past retirement.
Trey Turner was good in Carolina. Trey Turner was a Pro Bowler in Carolina. So
I believe it.
Y'all can't hold that against Ron now. Y'all can't hold that against Rivers.
No, we deserve Luvu. We deserve Luvu and Chinn, to be honest with you. Hopefully they become everything we want them to be. But I kind of wanted to switch gears here a little bit. As you know, we had the number 2 pick in this draft, drafted Jaden Daniels, the quarterback. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Jaden Daniels' rookie year. Obviously, we're hoping for good things, but you just all went through a similar experience for Bryce Young, being a number 1 pick last year. Disappointing season last year, and I actually felt really bad. I didn't think he, had the best situation around him in Carolina. I mean, no one probably would have been able to succeed in that situation. But I kind of wanted to pick your brain a bit about what's the feeling for Bryce Young going into year 2. Now, as far as the Carolina fan base of what they're planning, not even just the fan base, but the front office players or the coaches. What's the expectations of Bryce Young this year? Is there an expectation that he's going to take the leap this year to be what you all want to be in the franchise quarterback?
Well, there better be some expectations. They tied so much into him, like you better buy in. But I think that they're doing, they're trying to address as many needs as they can in one off season. I mean, there were so many holes on that team that you're not going to fix it all in one off season. But they will bring in Robert Hunt, who's going to help tremendously. They're making a commitment to run the ball, which is where we're really, really hoping to see Ike Ekwonu erase last season and build on what he was doing towards the end of his rookie season, because he's a mauler. He's not a pass protector. He's a mauler, and making teams respect the run due to your run block will definitely open things up for Bryce. Coach Canales is really, really focusing on his footwork and getting the ball out, because it's hard, like you said, it's hard to gauge. He didn't have a true rookie season that you can really assess. There was just so much going on around him. The pocket was collapsing immediately. He had no pass protection. Receivers weren't getting separation except for Adam Thielen. So when he did have an open receiver, if he did overthrow, you have such a small sample size to actually analyze. So when you're seeing those, oh my God, he's wide open and you missed it. That might have been 2 times that he had an open receiver all game. But when you have those opportunities, you have to capitalize on them. And that's what he's focusing on this year. The goal for him is to get the ball out in 2.7 seconds. They're going to start bringing in like timing implementation and things like that as the season gets closer, as they go into training camp. But they did add Xavier Leggett. That was their late first round pick. They added Deontay Johnson. You got TMJ is a big receiver that has the chance to take a leap under Canales. He has to take a leap under Canales because, again, he's like the offensive side, the offensive version of Chinn. There were flashes, but with so much, this person's calling the play. Now he's firing. Now that person's calling the play. Now, and then this quarterback's playing. Now Baker's here. Now it was so much going on. We don't know what TMJ can do either. So you have him. You have Jonathan Mingo from last year, and of course you have Adam Thielen. He's old faithful. There's going to be a lot of tight end usage in the pass game, which is going to help him also. They drafted Jatavion Sanders, who to me gives them the better pass threat. He's the best chance of getting some production out of that tight end position since Greg Olsen. Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble is going to continue to develop, but I think that as a pass catcher, Jatavion Sanders is going to get that starting nod before the season is over. I don't know when it's going to be, but he's going to crack that starting lineup before that season is over. And when you're adding things like that, and you're putting Bryce in a position that's infinitely better than it was last year, but right now that's just on paper. I'm cautiously optimistic because when you looked at the Texans situation and you looked at Carolina's situation with the offensive gurus that they brought in last season, Bryce was supposed to be in the better position. We were told, all the fans, all the media, we were told that the Panthers had made all the moves in the free agency. They brought DJ Chark, they brought in the tight end Hayden Hurst, they brought Miles Sanders over. You're supposed to be able to just drop a quarterback in, and that did not happen. So I do think that they are doing everything that they can to put him in a better position. But again, I wouldn't say that this team is going to make a deep playoff run miraculously this year. I do expect to see a jump from Bryce, because I just don't think you can get much lower than last year. I know I've said a lot.
Oh,
My
go ahead,
bad.
AJ. I see.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask her a question in regards of, last year with Bryce Young coming into Carolina, he lost his number one wide receiver due to a trade that allowed Carolina to even select him number one overall. And this year, you see them take a different approach where they signed Robert Hunt from Miami Dolphins to a massive contract, bringing a Damian Lewis. You trade for Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. In Washington, a lot of the fans feel like you shouldn't really put all your eggs in one basket trying to put talent around your rookie quarterback year one versus waiting to see how that goes and doing it year two. Now that you've seen that hands-on in Carolina, do you think that the proper approach is to wait until year two, year three to truly invest and build around your rookie quarterback? Or should you take the approach of like how the Chicago Bears have done with a Caleb Williams, adding in a DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, also taking a wide receiver in the top 10, Roma Dunze, and so on?
Well, first of all, I don't think that was Carolina's plan. I don't think they went into it with the plan of wait until year two. I think they thought that last year was it. So I think that you're giving them a lot of credit. That was never that wasn't the plan. They were supposed to contend for the division. You're giving them a lot of credit. They did not think that far ahead, okay? But that's just kind of how it ended up working out because they thought that's what they were doing last year. We're bringing in DJ Chark and bringing in Miles Sanders and Hayden Hurst. That's what they thought they were doing. They felt like they were getting better at every position. It just did not pan out. So I would say I like what Chicago has done, but Chicago has had to suck tremendously to even be in position to do that. To be drafting as high as they're drafting and things like that. So I don't necessarily think that was their plan either. They just have been so bad that they have, high draft picks. That's just kind of how it works out. But I do like what you guys are doing. I honestly, personally, I think y'all got the best quarterback in the draft. But that's just my opinion. And I do think that that you guys have the vets there to have a successful season. Do I think that he's going to come in and completely turn everything around? This stuff takes time. And you don't, rookies, highly drafted quarterbacks, you're highly drafted going to this team because the team was bad. The team was bad enough to be in position to draft you as high as they did. So I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of that. They're like, oh, you're number one, you got to come in and do this. You're number two, you got to come in and do. It's the reason that team was picking it too. And it's not, most of the time, it's not always fixed in 1 year. Houston was an anomaly. I'm gonna just say that. It was amazing, but that's an anomaly. I don't think that you're going to catch lightning in a bottle twice like that.
So you had
mentioned Sheena, before you. No, I was just gonna say real quick, Mo. You just mentioned about it's not gonna be a quick fix, but AJ he actually kind of expects the 9 game, and I thought that was kind of an unrealistic because I'm like, hey, it can happen, but it shouldn't be the expectation. AJ thinks it should be an 8 to 9 win guarantee, at least 8 to 9 wins this season, and I don't think that's a realistic expectation. I don't. But is that a realistic expectation?
I think it's fair.
Yeah, because the reasoning behind that thought process is
are you looking at the schedule?
I'm not even looking at the schedule. I'm looking at how bad Ron Rivera was as a head coach, and they still won 4 games. So if you bring in a Dan Quinn with all his boys,
man, not too much on Ron, man. Not too much on Ron.
You like Ron. She like Ron.
I did like Ron.
Hey, man, he might be an amazing person, but he's an ass head coach. So at the end of the day, I guess the reason why I said they should be 8 or 9 wins is because they won 4 under an abysmal head coach, Ron Rivera, and his staff. So if you bring in this new staff, new GM, I feel like they should be able to double those wins. If Ron had only won 2 games last year, I would say 4. But if they won 4, I don't know. That's just how I see it.
That's your reasoning.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this, and maybe it's PTSD. Maybe what I'm about to say is coming from a place of PTSD. But if that's your sole reason, I don't agree with that being the sole reason because the Panthers supposed to have the dream team of staffs last year. They brought in all these offensive heavy hitters and totally sucked on offense. So if that's the main reason, I don't agree with that being the reasoning. I was thinking that the Panthers could win 8 to 9 games last year because the NFC South was absolute dumpster juice. That's why I asked if you were saying that because of the schedule. The only reason I thought that the Panthers were going to win at least 8 games last season is because they really should have. The rest of the division was so bad.
You know what's
They were
crazy?
bad.
So I completely agree with the division, and I also think this year, what's different obviously is the Atlanta Falcons getting a competent quarterback, but at the same vein, it's not drastically. I said competent. I ain't go no further than that. But they're not.
It's the reason they drafted Penix. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not drastically better in terms of like the level of competition in that division. And I know you mentioned you're not necessarily saying playoffs for Carolina, but I don't think y'all are far out from competing within the division at least. Like, am I far off from your opinion? Like, what do you think about at least competing within the division? Like, there's something there.
I think they should compete. Yeah, they should compete within the division. They should. I think that they made competent moves. Now, I will say this. Canales and Dan Morgan did not inherit a good situation. Like, just think about it. You're coming off of a 2-win season, and you don't even have a first-round pick. You have to trade away Brian Burns for peanuts in the grand scheme of things because he's only a 20. Everybody, he only had 8 sacks. He's a 25-year-old edge rusher, 2-time, was it 3-time? 2-time, at least 2-time Pro Bowler. You know what I mean? And you didn't recoup a first-round pick. And he's a Seminole. You're right. He's a Seminole. Right.
But how
he's
does Dan Morgan not get any of that blame and then get elevated to GM position?
Because you don't know how weighted his opinion was in that room. You don't know if he was saying, man, I don't agree. But he wasn't the GM, so he wasn't going to have the final say. So
we relying on you to let us know.
Listen, Panthers Twitter be relying on me too.
There's a lot of personalities within that organization because even Adrian Wilson's over there. Like, I just don't understand what's going on.
I mean, I do think this. I think that David Tepper has been forced to take a step back. I don't think that a lot of people, surmise that Scott Fitterer was a yes man. I can't really speak to that. But Dan Morgan's not a yes man. He doesn't give me yes man vibes. And Dan Morgan is one of the only people in that building that knows how to have that has experienced the winning season or even a winning culture in Carolina. Of the guys on the team, the only players that have had a winning season or been a part of a winning season are Taylor Moton, Shaq Thompson, and JJ Jansen. That's it. 3.
Oh my Lord.
3 guys. 3 guys. Right. In the front office, and you got to think about how much that front office is shuffled around. Dan Morgan's the only person that really has been around a winning culture in Carolina. And I do think that, number one, he's not a yes man, but I also think David Tepper's like, you know what? Having my hands in this hasn't been working. Let me do something different. Something's got to give, My fans don't want to come to the games where the laughing stock. Jerry Jones is holding press conferences in a media room before the game, like he's in a home stadium. You got Jim Irsay dancing the dreams and nightmares in my visitors' locker room. Like, something's got to give. Like, they were embarrassing them. And these aren't hypotheticals. This stuff really happened.
You're good on this podcast. You're good. Say your piece.
He's doing things differently because none of the stuff that he's done has worked. So I do think that they were working with the scraps they were given. They didn't get a first-round pick for Brian Burns, but that was in the making 3 head coaches ago. They should have extended him the minute that they turned down those 2 first-round picks that the Los Angeles Rams were offering. As soon as you turn that down, you extend him. Instead, it went from Matt Rule to Frank Reich and then now Canales, and this contract was just hanging over his head. He wasn't in a great space. Brian Burns wasn't with the front office. But again, the last 2 off seasons, they weren't worried about his contract. They were worried about hiring a coach. So it wasn't really much they could do in that situation. They got what they could get. They didn't want to pay him. So the best that they could do was to get the picks that they got. Now, Dan Morgan did go back and get those picks that they traded away in that Christian McCaffrey, that they traded up, that they lost in the trade for DJ Johnson. Because they traded away Christian McCaffrey. Didn't get a first round for Christian McCaffrey either.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
I
felt like the Trent Williams trade with us. We ain't getting nothing back for Trent.
But I wanted to ask Sheena, and Sheena, you just kind of addressed the elephant in the room with Tepper, and the reason why Tepper is kind of the big conversation is because you speaking to a cast of crew right that's kind of familiar with a similar owner. Like Dan Snyder was the plague for this franchise for years. And some of the stuff I'm hearing out of Carolina is eerily similar to what we've experienced with Dan Snyder. Are you saying with David Tepper, he's possibly changing the tide, or maybe he's turning the corner because he's seen his work? But how confident do you feel, or maybe just in general, that's going to stay that way if things don't go his way? Because he just strikes me as one of those guys that when things aren't going the way he wants, he's going to dip his hand back in that pot. So do you think he's going to be turning it out for good, or I don't know?
That's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. If they don't see success right away, how long is Dave Canales and Dan Morgan's leash, so to speak, before he feels like, okay, it ain't going the way I want, this is happening against fast? That's the $1 million question. We don't know how long it will stay that way. I do think that Canales gets an actual chance to come in and inject culture. I do think that he gets at least 2 seasons. I don't think that he's going to be quick to fire him like Frank. Right? Frank, I agree with the firing. A lot of people are like, oh, he should. Why? The ship is sinking. Why? He got fired when he was supposed to get fired. Matt Rule went a little bit longer. Frank got fired when he was supposed to get fired. It just was what it was. But I do think that he's taking a different approach this time because, again, they were the laughing stock last year. You got to the point where people you were offering these bags of money and people didn't even want to interview for your head coaching position. Things like that. And I do think that David Tepper is a proud man. He's a very proud man. That's those ego strikes were body blows. And so I do think that he does something differently this year. Does it stay that way? I don't know. But it's clear from the moves that they're making good football moves, because there hasn't been any head scratchers this offseason. I think that they did a great job with that draft with what they had. You came away with steals in Jonathan Brooks, because we didn't even talk about him. You came away with steals with the 2 Texas players, him and Jatavion Sanders. You were able to trade up and get the receiver that you wanted and be able to have the option, the 5th-year option on the table for him if everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. So they did as good job as they could have working with the scraps that they were given, so to speak. Honestly, the only head scratcher, well, I wouldn't say Miles Sanders was a head scratcher last year only because he didn't pan out to be what they wanted him or thought that he would be. Sam Darnold is that trade, I felt like, set the Panthers back a while because that was a head scratcher. What film were they looking at when they decided that they wanted to trade for Sam Darnold? So just different things like that. They're kind of just cleaning up the mistakes of past regimes. And I think that because of that and the realization of that, David Tepper's kind of like, you're kind of messed up. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and do what you do, because they're making good football decisions so far. I know it's only June, but so far so good.
There's nothing wrong with that. With it only being June, Washington in the same boat. There's a lot of things that's been working out well here. So at the end of the day, you can only do what's in front of you. And with that, Sheena, I appreciate you joining us on this Commanders podcast episode.
You said Commanders?
Look, it's
that's the word. You never heard that before.
Y'all got my Panthers. My Panthers fans are in the comments saying they feel like I'm cheating when I do non-Panthers content. I covered y'all's draft pick in Detroit, and they were pissed. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
they love you. They love you, girl. They followed you here.
Man, they talking about Brian Burns and somebody upset. But yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining us and chopping up with us for a little bit. If anything that we missed in the beginning, anything that you want to plug, the floor is yours. And yeah, I guess I'll stop there.
I'm pretty active on Twitter. Y'all know where to find me. I don't really have anything to plug.
I don't know where to find you, Sheen. I'm looking for you. I'm just messing with you.
There it is.
You look like Nuck off of The Shot. Did people tell you that, Dre?
Wow. Hey, that's
I never watched The Shot. I don't know what that is. I mean, I've heard of the show.
Yeah. Maul and AJ have.
I know. I know Nuck.
You look like him.
I know Nuck.
I mean, it might be a little grainy, but you look like
handy
Nuck.
Man, bro.
A little bit.
You favor Nuck a little bit.
Hey, that's funny.
Yeah, I'll take it, whatever it is.
Look, Dre, I'm gonna say,
hey, I don't know if it ain't good because on there he pretty much a killer. He got a secret child. He's now just becoming a father too. So
yeah, man.
Okay.
First of all, but
Yeah,
why did he get beat up? Why did he get beat up by old ass Duda though?
And he squared up with him. How you lose that?
I can't wait till they kill Duda. I can't wait till they kill
so many
Duda.
people had the drop on Duda, but if they kill him, what's the storyline? So I get why they're keeping him. I'm like, boom, shoot him. You know what, Chris Tucker? Shoot him.
Nah,
like, why didn't Alicia just get rid of him?
Because it don't make no sense. If Duda gone, if it really like there's no villain. He the only villain.
Man, the Shy is
so bad. I mean, yeah, that's what my oldest son said. He was like, "This isn't even the same show." He was like, "This is introducing these random characters." He's like, "He's like the same."
It's just like,
where did Emmett's brother come from?
Yeah, it's just like Emmett got a brother. Now Emmett's brother didn't go to jail,
and now y'all got Jackie Long. Now y'all got Jackie Long on there acting like he's hard.
It's like I'm watching a Black General Hospital at this point.
Nah, it really is.
Well, you know what? I hope that it doesn't turn. You know that Empire, how they jumped the shark with Empire, and they just everybody was on there. It never made any sense. They had Chris Rock being a cannibal, a prison cannibal. That added nothing to the storyline. Like I didn't understand. That's what they're doing with the Shy. I'm like, and Lala ain't gonna get not too much on Lala. I'm
I know what you about to say.
You got the chick that sign language, like. Where does she come from? And now she's a whole bodyguard.
Not only that, how does Candy know what she's signing?
Yeah, Candy automatically.
You learned that in 2 weeks, bro. Hey, that's crazy.
Y'all not selling me on the show. Yeah, like, I'm never watching this show.
Hey, so look, great. The first two seasons was like that, bro. But then they just took this turn.
It was good. I'm like, how is Duda this real life boogeyman that's spooking all of y'all? Everybody has all these opportunities to kill him, and you just don't. Like Alicia, he's trying to kill you, and you say you're trying to kill him, and you're there with Jason Weaver with the damn leather coat on. Jason Weaver with that leather coat on is not he was chef.
He had his little moment. I couldn't believe it. And then he wearing the joint. That's another thing. Like, why you keep wearing it, bro? Like, that's not your jacket. You know it.
Because he think he's chef. How you gonna be up there with a gun behind Duda's head? Duda don't have no soldiers or shooters around him, and you let the boogeyman that's been terrorizing the whole city just leave.
Hey man, we got to do the Shy season finale review podcast.
Yeah, they had me hot, man. They had me hot. I was like, bro, kill him.
That's hilarious. But yeah, Sheena, we definitely appreciate you for joining us. Good luck to your Panthers, but enjoy the rest of your summer. And I guess a couple more.
I mean, y'all will see me. I'll be doing some Commanders coverage for 1430 this year. So you guys will see me.
Okay, cool. That's cool. So
I said 1430. I'm tripping. 1340.
Yeah. We knew.
It's been a long day.
All right. Well, enjoy your evening.
Thank you, guys. You too.
Be safe.
All right, take care.
All right. There is Sheena and boom. Oh, did I mess this up? There you go. All right. Woo. I didn't think we was gonna go into a little Shy breakdown, man. Honestly, Dre, it's an entertaining show, but it's just the level in which like the drop off of quality episodes, bro.
That scares me. But see, Mual, I'm on House of Dragon right now. That's what we on right now.
House of them dragons.
Conversation.
Yeah, man. By the way, I do think Otto, bro. We'll be quick because we can go ahead and close this out. Appreciate everybody who just checked in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I see all the regulars: JB, OG, Amani, Monty, Kevin. But I do agree that Otto is a problem because he was the one scheming from the get-go. I think my main thing, and I guess I don't know how good it came across on Twitter, but I think my main thing is, bro, like there were so many distractions going on that I think that Allison and Viserys, even though Viserys saw it to begin with, I don't think he put no time in to really get bro ready. Like he was just like, I'm gonna let him do whatever, bro. But he ain't showing that he interested in me, interested in the throne. So it's like I'm gonna just let him do his own thing. And Allison didn't care either. Like I felt like she was miserable. She was so caught up in her marriage, bro, or her wifely duties that she didn't care to really raise her damn kids, bro. Let alone get that man ready for the potential of being the king. That's kind of where I was coming from.
And I get where you were coming from. I knew where you were coming from, but my whole thing with Otto was like Otto was the only one that stayed the course. So Otto knew exactly. Like I told you, Otto set up the whole joint from when Viserys' wife died in the first episode. Otto set his daughter up, going there, you might want to wear one of the dresses your mother used to wear. You know what I'm saying? Like go up in there, seduce the king. You know what I'm saying? Otto knew what he was doing. He wanted to put his blood on the throne and all of that. But he was the only one. Like the King Viserys, I know you mentioned that, he didn't prepare Aegon, which he didn't. But Viserys was mostly sick and old. He was like 80 years old when Aegon was, a kid and all of that. This cat's old. He had one eye by the time he was about to die.
It was crazy, bro.
He was the crypt keeper. He was Tales from the Crypt by the time this whole show ended. So he never. Oh, that was nice, but he never went straight from the fact that he was going to name Rhaenyra his successor. You know what I'm saying? Like he never even thought that Aegon was going to be the king because he already had Rhaenyra in his hand. And of course, all of this went array when he mentioned about Aegon's dream, but whole time, I'm still unclear of this. I'm guessing, but I'm talking about Rhaenyra's son. The Rhaenyra's son's name Aegon too, but she just misconstrued that to think that was their son. You know what I'm saying? So, because Rhaenyra, I don't know if you remember, but early on in season 1, she said the prince that was promised is going to cover my bloodline, which is Jon Snow, as we all know who it is now. So that's who Aegon. He was talking about that Aegon. Anyway, Otto, like I said to you earlier, Mual, I don't think Otto ever had a situation where he sat down at any point with Aegon and taught him the way to be a king. Aegon had free will to do whatever he wanted throughout the kingdom at all. But I think, like I told you, one of the last tweets I had sent about that was Otto thought that Aegon would be an idiot that he can control. He didn't anticipate that Aegon would be someone that would dismiss him or get rid of him. And that's what's really backfired and pissing him off. But see, that's why I say he deserved it. He deserved that. Yes, Otto deserves everything that's coming to him right now because this is his vision. Like his vision was Aegon's throne. And no one else thought that about Otto was the only one pushing that for a long time.
That boy finna get smoked. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think he's gonna get smoked, bro.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, man. I gotta read the books. So,
I don't want to do it.
Get you on some dragons.
I don't want to read the book, bro. I know because they're gonna ruin it for me, bro. Because I know they already got the answer. So I'm gonna just leave it alone.
They go in their little different directions. Like them shows go in their own directions at that time.
that motherfucker got 1,000 books. What's that name? George Martin? George R. Martin or something?
George R. Martin. Yeah, them joints be long as shit.
Yeah, man, he got it, bro. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. We're gonna spare AJ because I could go 1,000 more minutes with this House of Them Dragons.
Yes, sir.
But that's gonna wrap it up for us on our side. Like I said, we got one more episode in terms of streaming. That'll be streamed on Thursday, all 32 side, but we will have some episodes published leading up into the weeks of training camp. So be on the lookout for those. But yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. But that's going to end the show. Y'all take it easy. All the good stuff. We about here. Peace.